Good Friday. Well, it's not Good Friday. Welcome to Friday, as in have a good Friday, or I hope you're having a good Friday. And today's episode 12, we are going to cover our normal things I've seen during the week by other people, something that I've been working on this week, and the newer feature is analysing somebody's work. And that week, or that work, is Joseph Antonio Fernandes. I'm assuming you're Spanish. And I realised I said Antonio, but that could be Anthony. That probably is actually Anthony. But it is Joseph. So, or Jose. No, it's Joseph. Anyway, that wasn't meant to happen. Enjoy.
Up show.
So, yeah. That was the new swanky intro, which I'm trialing. I like the layout. I like the fact that I can talk and you can't see me. That's not the part I like, but I like the way it's a powerful audio message. So yeah, today's episode, the same as last week, different features. Sorry, this episode, the same as last week, different content, same features. And we do still plan to get a now on. I just actually forgot that was a thing. But now I've got to get a now, and Joseph, hopefully, if I'm kind enough in my words, it would be great to have you on, and then we can go through the images and actually know how you did it, because genuinely it will be good. So first off, I hope you had a good week, because it was sunny, or whatever reason. I just hope you had a good week. Maybe if you're in the UK, we had a bank holiday on Monday. It's always a pleasurable experience. Well, that's relative to if it was a pleasant experience, but having a day off is normally a positive thing in this industry. Not sure what industry we're talking about. So let's jump in. Let's jump into the old images, and we can start looking at what the week has brought us. So that, of course, is the look at other things, which just means we've looked at other people's things, not mine, namely. And first off is Andy's, or in theory, well, no, okay, it's Andy's version of the Cult of Paint's Woodsman, which obviously he designed this. So it's Andy's all round, but it's part of Cult of Paint, which is it's short. It's run by Andy, and I think Henry, but Cult of Paint isn't Andy per se. It's just the company that he runs. Anyway, the point is, the reason why I picked this, obviously there's no paint on it, but for the longest time I've been searching for roots, which is a weird thing to search for like maybe 2 years. I've been looking for roots, and I don't think I've seen as many roots as used. Well, I have, but I can't remember the last time I saw this many roots used for like a 54mm, I think, or maybe 75 model. And it's hard to find roots, man. It really is. Like, people are like, just go to a tree that's fallen over. It's like, there are no trees that have fallen over in London. There are, obviously. I just haven't managed to find them. But I had quite a lot of luck the other day. So I've got actually a bag I need to go through to work out. It was like rose bushes. Someone had dug them all up. Needless to say, I do really like Andy's bases, and I'm excited to see where this goes. But what I'm noticing, and I've seen it in other places but hadn't quite cognitively realised, is they use a lot of milliput on their basing to basically to merge and make the branches coherent together. I've never done a base this big, but I love bases like this. Like, I really love them. I'd say it's like one of the most it's not, but it's one of the most enjoyable parts of looking at other people's models. Good bases is when they've, well, I don't know if it's the roots, but roots are pretty good. They add a lot of flavour, natural, that you can't get by sculpting. And obviously he's got the big knolls on these trees, like the one by the blade. Can't see my hand. And those kind of natural sort of feeling things. So I had to include it because, yeah, I want to do more. And it's kind of like a shout out to everybody to encourage me and themselves to do more. Well, I've got the roots now, right? So there's no point in me looking. So I don't have an excuse to not do it. I do have an excuse on, like, my excuse is pretty much like, oh, I don't have enough materials, so I buy more. Oh, I don't have, enough room, so I make more space. Oh, the room's messy, so I clean the room. Oh, I don't have enough drawers. Basically, I don't have enough paints. I don't have enough tools. I go as hard as I can to not paint. But I have cleaned. I've got drawers. Like I've got a new cabinet. Like my room is basically revamped completely in the last like 4 months. Finally, I think I'm ready. So Andy, hopefully I can take some inspiration from this work and touch up some wood. Right, so Jesus Christ. There's got to be a silent something there, hasn't it? Maybe the B. Thorbjorn. Maybe not. Thorbjorn? Bjorn? Bjorn. Bjorn. That's weird. So we've got Thor. Bjorn. Bjorn? Bjorn. Barone. And then we've got, I guess, Lelith Hexperax, who's a character of something. It might be Games Workshop related, I'm not sure. Thorbjorn. 1 sec, I'm going to look up how to say this. Thorbjorn. Thorbjorn. I don't know, man. Thorbjorn. Interesting. The H is silent, it seems. And there's like an umlaut, or at least in German, on the O, which I think is the J and the O. And then obviously you can omit the J. So you got Thorbjorn. Anyway, this sculpt is okay. This view is actually probably not the best one to start with. This is the view, and it's 32 millimeters. And in my perception, it's clearly a dark elf or elder. I'm not sure what this character is or anything really, but look at it. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean is what? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Basically, it's beautiful. It's beautiful on many levels. But the dynamicness, is the stand apart, the part that stands away from the crowd. It's the bit that's the most noticeable, noteworthy, different, unique. Stands apart, stands. Anyway, yeah, basically, obviously I saw that and I was like, whoo. And then when you go into the details, you're like, wow, okay, the crispness. And I'm not a fan of 3D generally. I've always preferred traditional, but this has sold me on the merits of 3D, because it's so well sculpted in general, anatomy, and the cleanness, but the dynamicness, man, it's very good. So I've contacted Thorbjorn to see if we can work together, because I'd love to do something with him, because sculptor wise, something dynamic like that. I have no idea if he'll release this or if it's purchasable, because possibly it's under IP restrictions, so it won't be, you won't be able to. But I can imagine some cool paint jobs. But even not, like, I don't game. Imagine having that it would look cool, basically, or at least for some sort of diorama. So it's well worth the inclusion. I realise I spent half the time talking about your name. My apologies for that. But yeah, the face is brilliant. I like also, from a personal point of view, it doesn't make sense either. She's just like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm spinning around the air with a fucking axe the size of my whole body. Not bothered though, just stoic as F. Fuck. So yeah, very nice. And then the last in the little bits of look at other things, or things we look at. I don't know. Well, I do know it's written down just there. But I can't remember what it was originally called. This is Richard Gray. And it stood out for me actually, mostly because the N and M is lovely. But the real key for me was it's desaturated. And I would say Richard, we could say, has a desaturated feeling anyway. But most of the Space Marines I see are very saturated. It might just be because, 1992 to 99 it was Saturation City. but it might just be the general feeling that most people do with most of the colours they paint Space Marines in is saturate. So to see such a highly desaturated model, it's really nice. It's a breath of fresh air in a weird way because I prefer saturation generally. But the N&M is really, really good. Obviously, I mean, it goes without saying he knows how to paint. But yeah, I think also what I found fascinating was the actual gold is painted with metallic metals, and yeah, I'm not 100% sure because you can see it's a little bit bobbly, but a bit like he's packed too much on there. But at the same time, it's got very much the feeling of, the lights are in the right place. So I don't know how he's done. I guess maybe a combination of metallic metal with paints, or maybe scales. So scale 75 because it's very matte, the model anyway. And their metals are very good at accepting other colours, i.e. whites, or probably wouldn't use a white, would you? But like some sort of off-white, yellowy light tone. So that, I was going to say thus, that concludes our things we look at. So now we can hop over to Jamie's things that he's done to look at. Ooh, I have to say, okay, I wasn't particularly... So the Wraith Lord's what I've done. The Wraith Lord is the big white guy at the back. And I've had him on the painting pile, in all seriousness, for about 3 years, I think. I started him, I undercoated him white, and I was just like, undercoating white is hard. So then I did some other things. I don't know what I did to try and fill in those gaps. You see all the lines that I've done, and it was a nightmare. So then I possibly sprayed it over again. Basically, this was not a fun model to work with. But looking at the photo, I have to say I'm happy with it. I'm much more happy with it in a photo, weirdly, than I am when I look behind me, because he's there. So it's kind of like, yeah. So it was hard work indeed. So to give context, I realise I just cut short there. It's because I forgot what I was saying. But the lines, to get any form of Christmas whatsoever on the Wraith Lord, it's the white tall guy. I really had to struggle because I think the cast wasn't good. You can actually probably see it at the top of the gun barrel. We've got the silver. There's just no crisp lines. It's all just kind of like, yeah, it's just a bad cast. The cast is probably like when this one was cast, it was probably like 15 years old anyway. So to get the solid crisp lines was much more of a challenge than I wanted to enjoy. Now you might be asking, what we're looking at here. Basically, I am on a warpath, and a very slow warpath, to recreate the armies that I grew up with, which was 97 to 99, basically like 2000s. And I'm just trying to create one-to-one representations of all the heavy metal paint jobs. And I have to say, it's hard. Like normally when you paint, you can be quite free, right? You can just kind of paint, you look, you kind of observe, you try and change, blah, blah, blah. But having to look at crappy images in a White Dwarf magazine, and then keep checking it, it's like, oh. But yeah, I'm trying. It's like I'm enjoying these results. I've only probably got like 3 or 4 of these things done in the modern, like to my standards now. I tried to recreate before, but I don't think I was quite as truthful. So yeah, basically that's what I did this week. I finished the Wraith Lord, who, as I said, I've been trying to finish for a very, very long time. So I'm very glad about that. I've got 2 more on my desk that I'm going to try and finish, and just plow through all these old things that I've got lying around. And these are kind of like, for me, the easier ways to do it, because I can actually do this compared to painting like a harder thing where I have to think about color theory, I have to think about composition, all this kind of stuff. Whereas repainting, yeah, it's annoying because you're copying, and it is annoying. But I do really like the results. And then the second part of my things is, now I haven't sculpted this, but this is part of my next release. This is all I can show a face. There's a lot more that goes around this face. but it's my next release basically, and it will be a long time. Yeah, it will be like 3 months probably till I can actually release it. But I thought I'd give you a sneak peek of the side profile of a elf. Well, a Sundala, whatever I called them, face. But maybe I can drip you sneak peeks, but probably not. I've actually done a whole video on this one of like the process from concept all the way through to getting it cast. And I possibly will need to add getting it commission painted as well. So if any of you are thinking about getting or making models, the video's long. It's me literally talking in a mundane way. I'm not that bored, but you know, it's not a fast paced, you know, short quip video as I normally do. No, it really is. No, I normally do. But yeah, that is the things I've done this week, and now we get to go to the analysis. I think that's what it's called. Oh, you can't see my face. I think that's fine. Now you know you've got the mouse cursor, which I think is actually quite important. I think it's probably better because then you can see the model a bit more up close. So, Joseph was kind enough. Now I actually have to say, Joseph, when you commented on your comment, right, I didn't read that you were being sarcastic in saying that it's not yours. I took that as sincere. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. It's not affiliated. But so when I replied and told you that I genuinely had seen it, I had, and I didn't realize you were plugging it, which did make me laugh. So yeah, I absolutely saw this. I can't remember if I saw it on Putty and Paint or just one of the social media platforms, because I don't tend to go on Putty and Paint that much. But yeah, it's an awesome piece, really awesome. Obviously this isn't a review, but I saw it because it was slightly different and it had the perspectives, but also the OSLs really well done. So thank you for pointing out, and thank you for doing it. And now we can try and break it down, and ideally, unless my points are done and you're happy with it, it would be great next episode to get you on and we can just go over exactly how you did do it. I can't imagine it would take too long for us to go through 5-10 minutes, but it would still be great to be able to do that together. So obviously this is the piece in its totality, and I'm assuming that this scale here on Putty and Paint says 172. Now I can't believe that's correct, because I'm sure these guys are like 10mm scales, mostly because of the feeling of the whole piece. And then this Celestial or Pirate or whatever they want to call it, I have no idea. Possibly could be the 72mm, which would make more sense, because then you have this large scale. So I think the first thing, obviously, to note is the let me try and move my mouse away. Yeah, is the OSL, because that is the most obvious thing, and I guess I have to assume a lot of OSL normally is done with airbrush. So my assumption here would be the eyes are probably hand painted, probably wet blended to get that kind of nice smooth. I wouldn't say transition, but in fact that is the exact right word to use. And the reason why I think most people use airbrush for OSL is because you get that nice directional lighting. So you would probably come from this side, the airbrush pointing down with a slight angle normally, and spray these kind of areas. I guess the key point to note, for me at least, is the fades between the lights, which also give it the whole super nice feeling, because the shadows on the characters are long, which I think is brilliantly done. And these are painted, and in fact all the shadows you can see are actually painted. I believe we've got a view from the top down where you can see that a bit more clearly. In fact, let's try and have a little look, shall we? Yeah. So you can see them really clearly here. You know, this is all hand painted. Now, obviously, you can get that with an airbrush, but nowhere near this clarity, because what it creates is a really nice sharp. The light seems very bright. Interestingly, here, right, it looks like you've got two jaws. Like there's the normal small jaw, and it's sitting inside the big jaw. So let's go back to this face, right? So I imagine airbrush. The only thing that's making me think possibly not is because the warmness and the transitions, it's quite hard to get. But you could do that with layering. So you could do your initial colours, block it like red, yellow, and then you could go with your airbrush with a fairly thinned down version of airbrush, and and basically block these tones together. I imagine the block is just painted, and then you've gone over with the brush to create those mid-tones, and then obviously this fantastic ripples. Yeah, that's got obviously hand painted. I'm interested to see if that's not airbrushed and you did this by hand. Well, yeah, I'll be interested. I guess it would be more work, but you have more control. But then the blend is so smooth that I will be impressed. I mean, I'm impressed equally, right? But if someone did it by a paintbrush, you'd be a nutter, but an impressive nutter. Now, I think for the OSL here, I cannot see any. Yeah, I don't think you've used airbrush. If you did use it on the ground, I don't feel like you've used it on the body, and that's because airbrush has a very specific look, doesn't it? The only reason possibly why you didn't do it on the ground is because you've not used it, at least as I can see anywhere else. So I think this is definitely hand painted. This pipe, these were hand painted. Yeah, it has to be. But it's so well done, the OSL from this side, and the kind of the complementary colours that are going on obviously create a very, very nice contrast. With the purple blues and the red oranges, basically, which are the complementary colours. Yeah, and then here is which is always when you cack yourself completely, when you've done this huge model and it's all perfectly painted, and then you have to add this this resin down, and the water resin. And normally what you'll do is, some sort of plastic card or something on the outside here to block that, so you get that thick, nice layer. See through. I have to say, I think it adds to it that you've done that just as a nice touch, because you have to have big balls. Yeah. So this is the other view. I also like that this piece has multiple views that work really well. So I think they're the kind of sort of standout things. I guess maybe you did use airbrush. So I guess the key for me is airbrush versus not airbrush, and they're the things that we want to know. But otherwise, it's very crisp. It's very nice. And will you be entering any competitions with it? I know there's a few going on now online, but when the world opens up, it'd be good to know. I think that's all I can really say, I guess, in terms of technique and analysis. I guess how you do OSL is you've done. I was going to say aside then, because it's like, does anybody really want to know what I've got to say on it? But yeah, the making it believable is the subtleties, I think, and the adding the little tonal variants on things that you see, like, so the shadows there harsh, and then you've got softer light because it's further away, but then harsher here. So there's a lot of play here, and it's done really, really well. So thank you all as well. And if you enjoyed the video, and you're not already subscribed, you can subscribe if you so desire. And I've been using that bell thing for a couple of other channels that I'm following. It's really nice, because you push it, and then I get it on my phone's notification with the slot down. I don't know if anybody has it for our channel, but it's cool. For I have to say, it's interesting. It's not done by default, but yeah, thank you. I do have some other things sent in actually by email, which is info@minimatters.uk, which next episode we will get to. Basically, Romain is what I'm talking about. So yeah, that is this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. 24 minutes, not too long, not too short either, which is perfect, depending on what you're doing. I feel like I've forgotten something, but I don't think I have. So thank you guys. I'll see you next week, probably earlier, because we are still on a hiatus for the normal Mini Matters weekly thing. Lionel is basically just completely swamped with work. He's gone from working at home, and obviously looking after the kids, but now working quite a long way away and then still working for the kids. So I'm going to try and pick up that slack while he's away. But if not, I'll obviously be continuing with the show and the weekly news. Yeah, well, it will come back at some point, but we're not sure yet when. So in your minds, just park that. And maybe give me some suggestions for a second show that I can do for Sunday, and I'll come up with something because it's fun. That looked anguished, but what I was going to say is it's really easy to record. This is off topic. This is my normal little thingy, right? Wait for it. It's huge. Normal. Big difference. Basically, I wanna have more controls because I'm swatching around there and doing stuff, but I'd like to not have to edit the images. And if I have a bigger thing, then I think I can do it where I push 2 at once, right? And it will do the image and change the name, and then I can do the names in the app, and I can use it with the file. Anyway, technical stuff, right? Guys, thank you, and I'll see you soon.